Welcome to day 2 of More Than a Tarrang Tree Research Symposium. Before we begin today's proceedings, I'd like to acknowledge the ancestral lands that we're conducting this symposium on. So, Yama Nyende, Nagala Na Yungan, Nagiri Mala Mala Yungan, Nagari Mala Yungan. We said hello, everyone. We belong to country. We do not harm country. We do not do wrong around country. Nigin Garigang Nawed Caroline Briggs and Nagagang Bunwarong Yungan, Wadarong Yungan, and Nigaraga Banjul and Croatian ancestors. I pay my respects to you, Aunt, to Bunwarong country, Wadarong country, and also Banjul, the great ancestor of the Kulin nations. We have a half day today, so we finish at 1 p.m. or thereabouts. And if you haven't got a program, there's still some out on the front desk. So we might kick off the proceedings today. So I'll introduce Kimberly Moulton, who will convene session 4. So if Kimberly would like to come up, thank you very much. There you go. I'll see you.
Good morning, everyone. This morning we have Israel Tangaroa Birch, who is talking with us this morning all the way from Aotearoa. So Israel is a Ngāpui, Ngātawaki, Ngāti Kahunu, Ngāti Rakai Paka. I'm so sorry, but I gave it a go. He's a full-time artist working from the Manawatu, Aotearoa, New Zealand. Israel works across all media with a painting practice titled Painting with Light to kaupapa Māori conceptual and political art. He is currently the Mana Whenua design lead for his iwi in the Te Matu a Maui, Hawke's Bay. Israel was previously a lecturer at Massey University teaching on the Toiho Ki Apti Bachelor of Māori Visual Arts for 15 years and holds a Master of Māori Visual Arts. So please welcome Israel.
Tēnā koutou katoa. Good morning, everybody. Tuatahi me mihi tēnei ki ngā tangata whenua. Firstly, I'd just like to acknowledge the tangata whenua, the people of the land. Ngā mana whenua, the people of this area, and thank you for welcoming me to speak. I'm actually feeling quite nervous at the moment because yesterday was so good. Thanks to Auntie for welcoming us yesterday. Auntie, I love it. We have in our culture a word called whaia. A whaia is not just a mother figure, but an absolute leader, a chief, a rangatira in our culture. And you may not even be connected to her, but you respect her. So thank you for welcoming us. And you put out the challenge, why am I here? I'm not sure. We'll see why. So should be good. On my father's side, I'm a descendant of Ngāpuhi Nui Tonu, Ngai Te Waka ki Te Wauku, which is on the northern part of the North Island. On my mother's side, I'm from Ngāti Kahungunu, Ngāti Rakai Paka, which is located on the east coast of the North Island. Today, for the next half an hour, I'm going to talk about Whare Tupuna, the carved ancestral house. I'm going to talk about Māori art, and I contextualise my practice in 2 spaces of tūmatoinga and rongo. Our kind of spiritual framework is based on this idea that Rangi Nui is the Sky Father, Papa Tuanuku is the Earth Mother. They are above and are below, and in between the other atua, or gods or deities, are Tangaroas of the ocean, Tāwhiri Mātias of the wind, Ruaumokos of the earthquakes, Rongos of peace, Tūmatoingas of, challenge and war, Haumie tiki tiki is of food, and Tāne Mahuta is the atua or deity associated to the forest. This is our ancestor tree located on top of the North Island. It's a Kauri tree. Kauri is a really significant rākau or wood for our culture. This tree is estimated to be about 2,000 to 5,000 years old. Unfortunately, our ancestor tree has experienced a thing called Kauri dieback, which is a disease that has entered our forests. And I was reflecting on when Norm started talking yesterday. Norm is very much like this tree. When you see this tree, you'll be walking through the bush and you'll be talking, and you'll see this ancestor tree and you'll just be quiet, and then you'll start listening. And it's a beautiful rākau. Cool. We nice and slow. Oh, it's dead. Thank you. We transform wood or rākau into our ancestors. This is a figurative depiction of our ancestor Tāne Nuiarangi. So Tāne in one form is the forest. When Tāne is referred to Nuiarangi, he's referred to this idea of ascending into the sky and acquiring knowledge. What happened? Cool. Today I'm going to talk about the ancestral house. The ancestor house is literally our ancestor. We have a ritual process that we take wood from the forest. We have a process to transfer that wood into a living, breathing ancestral house. Whare tūpuna arose out of this need for us to demarcate our land through a period of vast colonisation and confiscation of our land. And the whare tūpuna literally stood up out of the ground and grew out of the ground out of a need for us to demarcate our identity. So if you go to New Zealand, you might pass through and see different carved ancestral houses. They're a network and they're the fabric of our identity that's woven together. This te hau ki tūranga, te hau is the wind, the vitality. Ki tūranga is in the eastern coast of the North Island. This house was carved 1840, and I'd just like to acknowledge Rongo Whakātea and Ngāti Kaipoho for allowing me to show this house. You have to ask to see this house, or to show this house, especially the interior. Carved 1840 by Raharuhi Rukupo, confiscated from the government around 1860, housed in what's now Te Papatongarewa, the National Museum. And it's become really interesting because although confiscated, has been a real icon of our tino rangatiratanga, our self-determination, and slowly burns inside the museum. The ancestral house is conceptualised as an ancestor. The top of the house is the kōruru, the head. The arms are the maihi, the barge boards, and at the end are the raparapa, the fingers. We have this idea that as I'm doing now, I'm talking to you and there's a vibration crossing across the sky and entering into your mind, and hopefully you're understanding what I'm saying. We have this idea that knowledge transfers through the sky, enters into the head of the house, the upoko of the house, and inside the porch area, that's the roro, or the brain of the house. That's where we generally, not all the time, have cosmological narratives talking about the sky and the earth and the environment. So that's the upoko of the head. Te hau ki tūranga is a really complex, interesting history. And once you get inside the ancestor figure, you'll notice that this is where knowledge translates into this visual form that we call whaiwhai. You'll see it running down the top of the house, from the front to the back, from the living to those that depart. You'll see it transferring and flowing down as painted patterns on the heke or the rafters or the rib of the house. So it literally shows our knowledge disseminating from the sky into the brain, the cosmological understanding, through the house, from the living to the departed, streaming down like Wi-Fi. Actually, this is like 10G. This is like AI, ancestral intelligence. It streams down the house. Generally, not all the time, into the head of the ancestor figures. These are carved ancestral figures of that tribe, and that knowledge streams down through the ancestor figures and returns back into Papatūānuku, the Earth Mother, because she is the body of all knowledge for us. She is the library. This is a house that's carved on my mother's side from the east coast of the North Island, Kahungunu. A really important house opened 1949, carved by our people, our men that came back from World War II, around I think 1945, so opened around 1949. It's about kahungunu. Kahungunu is a really famous ancestor. I don't know if you've seen Once a Warriors, it's a bit of a downer, but we have this stereotype about us as men, and kahungunu was a lover, a gardener, a fisherman, a provider. He was handsome, and he was also a caring father. So we're trying to regain our own narratives about our relationships with our kids and our children. There's a narrative that he liked this girl, Rongo Mai Wahine. She was married to this guy. He takes that guy surfing. He comes back from surfing. That guy mysteriously drowns, and then she gets with him, and it's a really like a kind of a soap opera of a story. But this is kahungunu. And this is, again, the backbone of our house. As you can see, the pattern is curvilinear, so it's about energy, dynamism, it's about life force. We call this aho manawa. Aho is a thread, manawa is your heart. This is the heartbeat of our house. It's alive, it pulses, there's a rhythm. Within inside that pattern, there's another pattern called mangopare, which is the hammerhead shark, which you'll see later on. The hammerhead shark, we like to take the attributes of the environment and try and encompass them in our spirit. And the shark, if you go fishing and you catch a hammerhead shark and you put it on your boat, it'll survive for hours, if not the whole day, outside of the water. We like that as a metaphor for our culture. Again, you can see it streaming down, that consciousness, that mātauranga Māori knowledge streaming down into the ancestral figures, boosting through. This is pene taiapa in the mix of carving our ancestor figures. People often ask, why are these figures carved like that? And the best description we can provide in English language is that they're in transition. They're transitioning from a human form to a spiritual form, from ira tangata to ira atua. This is on my father's side, up on the top of the North Island, and you'll notice one thing straight away, that there's no carvings associated to this house. Our people had to make really concise decisions about our culture. And up north, we were the first to be heavily colonised by a lot of things, religion, alcohol, guns. And I'm really proud of our ancestors. There's a story in our family that our ancestors parked our culture in the garage of the Mormon church. And a lot of us, our generation, we're like, oh man, worries about the Mormon church and religion. But actually, I'm really thankful that my ancestors parked our culture in religion, because there was always the idea that we'll unpark the car from the religious garage and be on our way, which my generation is doing. So that's where I get the name Israel. It's not a very classic Māori name. It comes from my Mormon upbringing. My grandfather was called Iharaira, and it was a part of that generation where my parents said, it'd be easier for non-Māori to say Israel. And I've had a rough month with that name. So I went to the US ambassadors for dinner last week, and that was rough. So this is Te Matawa Māui. In my hometown of Hastings, the freezing works closed down around the 80s, displacing around Western quantification about 2,000 people, Indigenous quantified numbers around 5,000 to 6,000 people. If you know Māoris and Polynesians, we have huge families. So the freezing works displaced thousands of people in our community. And as an academic, we have these terms, mental health crisis, living crisis, and it comes from governmental decisions to close down these types of places for our people. My father was lucky. He was invited to be a part of a small group of men to carve this ancestral house. Te Mato is the hook. Maui is of Maui, the hook of Maui. And as you can see at the top of the house, that's Maui catching the North Island. It's green. So it was a political decision in the 80s to say to our people, actually red's not the only colour we've got. There's a story there about colonisation and the colour of red. And it's a real dynamic house. So when I was a kid, I got to kick around with my dad carving this. And I see art, or toi Māori, as actually health intervention. Art is about your health, primarily. This is my dad carving the inside of this whare. Pretty cool looking fella. It's interesting, my mother went to a native school, so it was a segregated school on the East Coast, and she had a wonderful time with her Māori cousins and stuff. My dad would go to a mainstream school, and I'm not sure if you've heard, but our children were beaten for speaking Māori. So you imagine your kid as a 5-year-old going to school and they're being beaten for speaking Māori. We are trying to change that narrative to actually they were beaten for being Māori. So let's try and get that right. In Te Papa, we have a house called Te Hono ki Hawaii. Te Hono, the connection ki Hawaii, to Hawaii. This house was built when Te Papa was being built, 1996. So this house is in this area, and Te Hauki Turanga, the other house, is in the room next door. It's a really important house because it's about establishing bicultural policy within the museum sector. So, biculturalism is about 10% Māori, 90% non-Māori. We're trying to elevate those percentages. It's an important house. It's an innovative house. The previous house is subtractive. It's about getting a piece of wood and subtracting material. This is innovative because it's about shaping MDF to make 3D forms. The carver at the time was wanting to comment on deforestation in the 90s and the impending climate change. Really important house. And this house is used for repatriation of taonga, sacred objects, and also our ancestors, literally our ancestors, especially our moko tuhituhi. I don't know if you know about the preserved Māori heads. That was a big trade. So we're repatriating. We have a place to repatriate our taonga and our ancestors. We see this in terms of the long game. This is like religion for us. This is a parking space. We have a big long-term vision. This is a 1,000-year vision. So we try not to get bogged down in saying, oh man, I can't do all of it. We can't. You have to understand that this is a long-term game and we're playing the long game. And that's why it's important to teach our students about history. 13 minutes, doing good. Yeah, I spent 15 years. I moved to Palmerston North to pursue a Master of Māori Visual Arts. And at that time, the professor asked me to start teaching. Real cool course, Indigenous course. So the primary focus of the Indigenous course, our students must learn te reo Māori. Even if you can just say hello and goodbye, that's good enough. You must understand the Treaty of Waitangi. You must understand your whakapapa or your genealogical connections. We must activate the students politically. We must make real connections with our students to land. And we must assure that our students, when they leave, that they understand the principle of manaakitanga, which is being kind and caring. The last 6 years while I was at Massey, we got asked to build a new marae, a new house and area at the university, and it's conceptualised as the rākau tupua, the cosmic tree. At the top, we've got 3 feathers. So when you come into the space, it's a Māori-only space. And those feathers represent love and respect when you enter into the house. As you can see to the left, there's a monster of a university building. So it took us a long time. We faced racism, a pandemic, to actually get through this process. And this is the rākau tupua. The outside area is kind of tapered up towards the house, and the house is conceptualised as the forest. Inside the house, the floor is conceptualised as Papa Tuanuku, the Earth Mother, and on the back wall is a stepped pattern, which is called potama, but it's the roots of the tree. On the walls, we normally have ancestral carved figures. We've decided to carve with CNC routing every significant tree in our forest. That ascends into the heke, where the foliage of the tree is, and then it transitions into the stars, star maps. Celestial navigation is something that we need to teach and we want to teach. We're shifting from solar to a lunar phase, so I'm not sure if you've heard about Matariki. This is the 2nd year we've celebrated Matariki, which is our Māori New Year, and we're transitioning from a solar to a lunar calendar system. It means you get Thursdays and Fridays off. It's pretty good. That post in the middle is what's called the Potoko Manawa, the heart post, and it keeps the house up. It's based on the Treaty of Waitangi and Te Tiriti o Waitangi, our relationship with our treaty partners. One part of my practice is I paint on stainless steel. My father wanted me to be a master carver, and I do carve, but I also carve stainless steel. So the house is about the forest, and the whareko, the dining hall, is about the ocean. So my goal was to make a house that moved like the ocean. It's carved stainless steel. The RGB lights are in sync with the tide. That's in Wellington. So it shifts low and high tide like the house is breathing. And that's our marae. So like the marae, I'm going to take a bit of a diversion here. We're at 16 minutes, cool. The outside of our marae is contextualised as tū mātauinga. So when you come onto the marae, that's when you can have a good fight verbally, right? You challenge genealogical ties, you make connections. So one half of my practice is to my taonga, not the god of war, but the god of challenge, because that's the vitality. And when you go inside the ancestral house, that's the space of peace, solidarity, caring, kindness, and identity. So I'm going to take you through some random works. My 3 daughters call this dad art. So I'm going to spend 5 minutes showing dad art. This is Claire Nathan. Years ago, Claire applied to be a stewardess in Air New Zealand. And I don't know if you can see on the tail of that plane, that's one of our most prestigious designs, the mongopare, the attributes of the hammerhead shark. So if you go to Air New Zealand, they're wearing Māori designs. And Claire became famous because she was denied as a stewardess because she's got tāmoko, tribal tattoos on her arm. And it became like a national story. And I love dad art because you can do it on the couch watching Netflix on Photoshop. So I made a work about Air New Zealand and the kind of true commodification of our culture. I tried to sell this to Air New Zealand for $1 million, but they stopped emailing me, replying back to me. So I make works in a political sense of tū mātaonga of challenge that really tries to look at the essence. A lot of institutions and universities are becoming treaty-led. Tiriti means treaty. And our treaty-led New Zealand is currently loading. It's not even on 1%, I don't think. So a lot of the things we're trying to do is reclaim names and actually delete names. When Cook arrived in Gisborne, and you won't read about this in the history, he landed on the shore, shot one of the chiefs, and as he left, he called our area Poverty Bay. And so we're just lightly trying to remind our people that Poverty Bay is not a cool name. Turanganui-a-Kiwa is the name of the place. This artwork is a treaty claim I've made. It's the treaty claim about te reo me ona tikanga claim. Te reo, Māori language, and tikanga, Māori customs. This claim addresses the fact that our people have to go to institutions and pay to learn our language and our culture. So this treaty is about no Māori person should have to enter any institution of learning and have to pay to learn their language or their history. It's a part of our treaty claim, and institutions, and I'm an Māori academic, institutions have completely commodified and consumerised our culture. Well, this guy, man, this is Bob Jones, classic dude in New Zealand, like sustained white supremacy in our country. And what this series is called Flip the Script. All I did was change the word Māori to Pākehā. And so that's all I did for the series of artworks. And as it reads, you need a cabinet minister who would tell the Pākehā that you're all a pack of lazy bastards. 1973, so obviously it said Māori. This is brutal. 1988, an objective outsider would be excused for quickly concluding that Pākehā are genetically an inferior race. Now, okay, white supremacy in my country is so dumb that I got lots of hate mail for this because they couldn't work it out. Anyway, what these Pākehā parasites seek is for hard-struggling Kiwi workers to give them money without them having to work for it. Now, a lot of our artists have commented on this guy. One of them got sued. He's a multi-millionaire, so she took the brunt. We all fundraised for her, and he dropped the case. So it's about teaching our students that art doesn't have to be laborious. It can be intelligent, quick, while you're watching Netflix on the couch. We have an issue with Māori language, right? We have a real issue with Māori language. People lose their when you say, hey, kia ora, and they're like, oh, it's like I want to do an artwork about a Karen exploding. So I like this work. We always get called meowies. I like this cat. He's white. He's a white cat. He's cool. I like him. He's awesome. I've done work for the police. I've redone their logo design. Ironically, we've just redone the refurbishment of the police station in my town. It has to come with, you must learn te reo Māori and you must actually understand the Treaty of Waitangi. I don't get invited to go back and design anything anymore. I've done work for the Department of Conservation. So the Department of Conservation has been at the forefront of stealing our land. So the Crown would say, hey, you guys over here, this is a national park now. Move or we will take you out. So the Department of Conservation has made this a national park, that's a national park. They went around to our people's homes and said, you'd have to move, this is a national park. And we're like, what the f-? You know, so I've done work for the Department of Conservation. I've done commentaries on the history of New Zealand. This is a concise history of New Zealand. We're in the mix, in the throes of this idea about writing Māori history. And there's so much pushback against it. And our idea is, yep, have your Pākehā history, but we also need a Māori history. We've got the ability to learn alternative histories. So Little White Lies cannot exhibit this in my country, too political. So I could exhibit it at presentations. This is supposedly one of the most historic paintings in our culture. 20 minutes. It's painted in 1845 maybe. It's painted by Lewis Steele and Charles Goldie, who are, they painted a lot of our people. But it's propaganda. I don't know if you've noticed those waka. Those waka, they don't go out into the ocean. Those are freshwater waka, those are wakatoa, those are sacred canoes. I don't know what's going on with these people. They've got no life jackets on. If you look at that sail, that's you're not going anywhere with that sail. So what I've tried to do is in my class, I said to the students, let's erase propaganda. If you keep an eye on the sail and that guy at the top, we can actually erase these cultural kind of stereotypes. So and I just got sick and tired of doing it, so I just put myself in there, and it's just to awaken the students. Wake up. This is. So I work with our waka crew. My goal is that in the Auckland Museum we have the original artwork, and then we have my exact replica in a dish that's moving back and forward, that's getting constantly whitewashed. Auckland Art Gallery have yet to accept my exhibition proposal. So I work with the waka crew as part of my job. We're creating a waka pavilion, a canoe pavilion for our double hull canoes. They are currently traversing the Pacific Ocean, decolonising the ocean. What are we at? What's our time at? This is another painting on the your left is Goldie's and mine is on the right is my painting. Just taking out the pipe. Just what if. This is co-governance in New Zealand. This is David Seymour from the ACT Party, shaking the hand of David Seymour from the ACT Party. I made this last year, and unfortunately David Seymour from the ACT Party and National came into power about a few weeks ago. They've got three visions. One is to decouple New Zealand from the UN and the rights of Indigenous people. They have got the vision to rewrite the principles of the treaty, and they're also going to fire all government bureaucrats, which means Māori people in positions like myself. People lose their shit about te reo Māori. Last year, Whittaker's, the best chocolate in the world, translated their chocolate bar from milk cream to miraka creamy, and New Zealand lost their shit. So there's so much racism. So I made a chocolate bar as my own chocolate bar, and I've like to, as a gift. I haven't got this one, but I'd like to gift Auntie. Here, here's a koha. There you go. You get one piece each. This is cool because my kids give me shit about my work, and they come back from school and they're like, "Man, Dad, all the kids think that work's amazing." So I'm like, yeah. So it really hit home. You get multiple death threats for this stuff. It's hilarious. We had a tiki show. This is a tiki. This represents the first human form for us, which is a female form, and everyone is a master of a tiki show. But for my tiki show, I decided to go with the word tāhai. On the side, you can see the word tāhai, Tahae. It means to steal. It means to appropriate. And tiki is probably the most commodified taonga in our culture. And my friend gave me this greenstone, and he said, "Oh, bro, you have this, Kiwis." I go, "Oh, this is the Australian greenstone." And I was like, okay, and I held it, and I thought, actually, no, this is Aboriginal greenstone. And one day I'll take this back to Aboriginal people. So this is tāhai made from, Aboriginal greenstone. Now he sells it for heaps, now that it's Aboriginal greenstone, so I'll give this back to Kimberly. Here. Okay, I think we're at 2 minutes. We've got 3 minutes. Yeah, cool. So it's funny, you turn up to a tiki show and everyone's got these amazing tikis and you pull out these things that say tahai, stolen, mana, hine. Everyone's like, what the hell is this? Okay, so we'll just end. We've got to end. We've got like 4 minutes left. On the other side of my practice is like walking into the ancestral house. My work cannot be moved, cannot be shifted, cannot be changed. It lives and breathes inside my ancestral house. It responds to our patterns, the mangopare, tenacity. This is a step pattern called potama. Used to be called the stairway to heaven. We don't use that term anymore. It's the stairway to knowledge. I'm a light painter. My dad wanted me to be a master carver, but I carve and shape light. Basically, this is about mana. Everybody has mana. It's your well-being, it's your privilege, it's your understanding. And for us, we need to remember that everybody's got mana. It's at the same level. I don't know if it looks squashed, but yeah. So I'll just blitz through these because we've got about 2 minutes. This is the diamond pattern is a Pātiki Tiki, which is a flounder, and it's also a star constellation. And Pātiki Tiki is really important. It's about the connection between the stars, navigation, and the flounder. Flounder's a cool fish. It lives in between freshwater and saltwater, and as Māori, we love these ideas because we can exist in two worlds as well. We can exist in any space as Māori, Indigenous people. This is the steps of knowledge. If you want, I've got hundreds of these paintings, so I'm on Instagram if you want to see my work. But I make these light paintings. This is the pathway to knowledge. It's carving. Our carvers, they shape, form, and light. This is the mangopare. This is the shark. Sorry, I'm just blitzing through this. We've got 2 minutes. And the mangopare is about the tenacity, the spirit of a shark. This symbol has gone from paddles that Cook collected 1769 through to now. It's used on tāmoko, it's used on our skin. It's about being tenacious. It's actually about being political. A shark, I'm into spearfishing and diving, and a shark will teach you lots of things. This is the energy of spring. We like those interim phases between spring and between winter and summer. I'm just going to flick through these. This is another one about how spring and the ocean talk to each other. And for us, it's about teaching the students that, this is our visual language. And when people come over to us and they go, I can't understand it, we're like, great. Yeah, cool, that works. This is about our ancestor Maui. It's a fishing hook. Maui's hook never sleeps. We search upward and downward for knowledge, up into the sky and down into the earth. Maui is our ancestor. We are Maui. We are the current iteration of Maui. Right, this is 2 more to go. This is like the backbone of our house. It's the weaving together of our knowledge, and it reminds us that we actually need to be. Looks a bit stretched. We need to weave together. We're in a current stage where our tribes are trying to be individuals, but the conversation we're having is you can be individual, but we actually need consolidation. I'll leave it here. This is one of my last paintings. This is the potama, or the steps of knowledge, conceptualized as a tree. And so this is potama, the tree of knowledge. Thank you very much for inviting me to speak and share. Kia ora.